Title: Debunking Myths, Asexuality and Aromanticism Explained. Intro: 500 words. In a world that constantly glorifies romantic love and sexual attraction as cornerstones of happiness and fulfillment, there are still many identities that remain misunderstood, misrepresented, or entirely invisible. Among them are asexuality and aromanticism, two unique and valid orientations that challenge the traditional narratives of love, desire, and connection. Welcome to Debunking Myths, Asexuality and Aromanticism Explained, a heartfelt exploration meant not just to inform, but to connect, empathize, and most importantly, listen. For too long, individuals who identify as asexual or aromantic have been met with confusion, doubt, or outright denial. Comments like "you just haven't met the right person yet" or "that must be a medical issue" are far too common. These misconceptions don't just stem from a lack of knowledge. They're rooted in a world that often fails to imagine intimacy and relationships outside the narrow lens of romance and sexuality. But the reality is, human connection is far richer and more diverse than we've been taught to believe. Asexuality is not about fear of intimacy. Aromanticism is not an inability to love. These identities are not broken pieces in need of fixing, they are whole, authentic ways of existing, of relating to the world and to others. Through this video, we want to gently but firmly dismantle the myths that surround these orientations. We aim to offer clarity where confusion lives, comfort where shame may linger, and representation where silence once prevailed. This isn't just for those who identify as ace or aro, it's for their friends, families, partners, allies, and anyone willing to expand their understanding of what it means to be human. By exploring the nuances of the asexual and aromantic spectrums, including concepts like gray sexuality, demi-romanticism, and queer platonic relationships, we hope to open a door for conversation, curiosity, and compassion. At its core, this video is a reminder that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to love, attraction, or identity. Each person's experience is valid, regardless of how different it may seem from the norm. And as we begin to unlearn the rigid ideas we've inherited about relationships, we make space for a more inclusive, accepting, and emotionally intelligent world. So if you've ever wondered what it really means to be asexual or aromantic, or if you felt unseen in a world obsessed with romance, this is for you. Let's walk together through the myths, the truths, and the beautifully diverse realities of asexual and aromantic lives. Because understanding is the first step toward acceptance, and acceptance is the foundation of a more compassionate world. Welcome. Let's begin. The silent elephant in the room, asexual and aromantic misconceptions. You might think you know what love and attraction are, but what if I told you there's a whole spectrum often misunderstood? In a world where romantic comedies dominate our screens, love songs flood the airwaves, and sexual attraction is often portrayed as a universal experience, there's a quiet yet significant group of people left out of the conversation, the asexual and aromantic community. Despite growing awareness of LGBTQ+ identities, asexuality and aromanticism still remain two of the most misrepresented and overlooked orientations. They are often met with confusion, invalidation, or worse, silence. This video isn't just a discussion. It's a gentle unraveling of myths, a heartfelt attempt to create space for the stories that often go unheard. Asexuality, in its simplest form, means a lack of sexual attraction. Aromanticism, similarly, refers to a lack of romantic attraction. But these terms aren't black and white. They live on spectrums. Some asexual people might enjoy relationships, experience romantic feelings, or even engage in sexual activity for different reasons: emotional closeness, curiosity, or partnership. Aromantic people might deeply value friendships, or form intense emotional bonds, just not in the conventional romantic sense. The problem is, society often teaches us that romantic and sexual love are the ultimate human experiences, the end goals. So when someone says they don't feel those attractions, it's seen as a flaw, a trauma response, or a phase. But it isn't. It's an identity valid, complex, and deeply human. Let's talk about the myths. First, no, being asexual or aromantic doesn't mean you're broken, cold, or incapable of love. Love isn't limited to sex or romance. It comes in many forms: platonic, familial, creative, self-love, and more. Second, it's not just about being shy, picky, or not having met the right person. It's an intrinsic orientation, not a waiting game. Third, these identities aren't new or trendy. They've existed across cultures and time, only now are people finding the language to describe their experiences. This video exists because the silence has lasted too long. For the person wondering why they've never felt what others describe as butterflies or sparks. For the teen who's told they'll change their mind. For the adult who thought they were broken. You're not. You're not invisible either, even if it's felt that way. Representation, understanding, and education are powerful. They can change lives. They can offer peace to someone who's spent years in confusion. Our goal today isn't to speak over anyone, but to make space, to clear up the fog of misinformation and let the truth of these identities shine through. Whether you identify as ace or aro, or you're just beginning to learn, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, love isn't one size fits all. Beyond broken, what asexuality actually is. Have you ever heard someone say, they must be broken, when describing someone who doesn't feel sexual attraction? It's a painful phrase, and one that's all too common when it comes to asexuality. But the truth is far from that misconception. Today, we're going to explore what asexuality actually is, not what media, myths, or misunderstanding tell you. Because asexuality isn't about fear, dysfunction, or denial. It's simply another valid way of experiencing the world. Let's begin with what asexuality is not. It is not a medical condition. It is not caused by trauma. It is not a choice or a vow of celibacy. And it definitely is not a phase. Asexuality is a sexual orientation, just like being gay, straight, bisexual, or pansexual. It means a person does not experience sexual attraction to others. That's it. It doesn't mean they can't fall in love, build deep emotional connections, or want companionship. Many asexual people are in happy, healthy, romantic relationships. They just experience intimacy differently. Asexuality often gets confused with celibacy or low libido. But these are very different. Celibacy is a choice, a decision someone makes to abstain from sex, often for religious or personal reasons. Low libido is about desire, a lack of interest in sexual activity, which might change over time due to health, stress, or other factors. Asexuality, on the other hand, is about attraction. It's not about what someone does, it's about what they feel or don't feel when it comes to others sexually. But even within the asexual community, there's a rich and diverse spectrum. That's why we talk about the asexual spectrum, which includes identities like gray asexual and demisexual. Gray asexual individuals might occasionally feel sexual attraction, but it's rare or doesn't play a major role in their lives. Demisexual people typically only experience sexual attraction after forming a strong emotional bond. These identities help us understand that sexuality isn't black and white, it's nuanced, and everyone's experience is different. There are also asexual people who enjoy sex, who are curious about it, or who are indifferent to it. There are some who feel repulsed by the idea, and others who engage in it to connect with their partners. None of these experiences are more or less valid than the others. Asexuality is deeply personal, and it doesn't need to follow anyone else's script. If there's one thing we want you to take away from this, it's this: asexual people are not broken. They are whole, worthy, and deserving of love and understanding, just like anyone else. The world is wide and full of different ways to be human. Asexuality is simply one of them. So instead of judging what you don't fully understand, ask. Listen. Learn. Because acceptance doesn't begin with answers. It begins with compassion. Let's move beyond broken and into truth, visibility, and respect. Friendship over romance, unpacking Aromanticism. In a world that constantly glorifies romantic love, from fairy tales to films, from songs to social media, there lies a quiet, often misunderstood identity that challenges this norm: Aromanticism. Aromantic people are not broken, emotionless, or incapable of love. They are not just waiting for the right person. And they're certainly not missing out on life. Aromanticism simply means experiencing little to no romantic attraction, but it does not mean a lack of connection, affection, or depth. In fact, for many aromantic individuals, friendships and chosen families form the very core of their emotional lives. A common myth is that aromantic people are cold or detached. But the truth is, they can and do feel love. Deep, soul-shaping love. They may cry with their friends, stay up late supporting someone in pain, or build lives rooted in companionship and mutual care. What they don't experience is the crush, the romantic butterflies, or the longing to be someone's romantic partner. And that's okay. It's not a flaw to be fixed, it's simply a different way of experiencing the world and connecting with others. Aromanticism is often confused with asexuality, but the two are distinct. While some aromantic people are also asexual, many are not. Some may feel sexual attraction, seek out physical intimacy, or even date. What sets aromanticism apart is the absence of romantic desire, not an absence of love altogether. It's vital to recognize the many shades of affection that exist. Love is not a one-size-fits-all experience, and for aromantic individuals, that love may show up in fierce friendships, collaborative partnerships, or deeply committed queer platonic relationships. Queer platonic relationships, often called QPRs, are one beautiful example of this. These partnerships go beyond typical friendship but don't fall into the realm of romance. They may involve living together, raising children, or sharing finances and life goals, without any romantic component. For many aromantic people, QPRs are deeply fulfilling and provide the kind of lifelong connection they seek, outside of society's rigid romance-focused expectations. We must challenge the narrative that romance is the pinnacle of human connection. Aromanticism teaches us that friendship can be just as powerful, that love can take many forms, and that a life without romance is not a life without meaning. By expanding our definition of love and honoring all kinds of bonds, romantic, platonic, queer platonic, and more, we build a more inclusive, compassionate world. So next time someone tells you that being aromantic means being heartless, remind them, aromantic hearts love deeply, just differently. And in a world that prioritizes romance above all else, perhaps it's time we learn from aromantic voices what true, unconditional, unwavering connection really looks like. Let's celebrate love in all its forms. Let's honor friendship, loyalty, and chosen family. The real impact, why understanding matters. In a world teeming with noise, opinions, and fast-paced judgments, understanding has quietly become one of the most powerful and overlooked acts of humanity. Myths and misconceptions, especially those rooted in identity, mental health, or sexuality, don't just exist in the shadows of ignorance, they thrive in it. And when left unchecked, they cause real, lasting damage. This is not just about misunderstandings, it's about the social isolation of a teenager questioning their identity, the adult dismissed because their neurodivergence doesn't look a certain way, the silent suffering of those constantly battling misdiagnosis, stigma, and shame. The consequences of misunderstanding are not abstract, they are deeply personal, deeply painful, and often invisible to those who aren't affected directly. Let's talk about language, something so simple, yet so powerful. The words we choose in our everyday conversations shape more than just dialogue. They shape perception. When people are reduced to labels, or when their experiences are belittled by casual jokes or ignorant remarks, it tells them that they don't belong. Inclusive language isn't about being too sensitive. It's about being respectful. It's about recognizing that behind every term or identity is a human being who deserves dignity. It's about letting people define themselves on their own terms and making space for those who have been pushed to the margins for far too long. Respectful dialogue means listening not to reply, but to understand. It means letting go of the need to be right, and embracing the humility of being willing to learn. We are all shaped by different stories, different truths. And when we take time to truly understand where someone is coming from, we build bridges instead of walls. We move from sympathy to empathy, from tolerance to genuine compassion. That shift is powerful. Understanding matters because it changes lives. It helps a parent support their child without judgment. It helps a friend offer comfort instead of clichés. It helps teachers, employers, and even strangers treat others with the kindness that everyone deserves. The ripple effect of accurate understanding is profound. It creates a culture where diversity is not just accepted but celebrated, where people feel seen, heard, and safe. And in that safety, we all thrive. So, the next time you hear something you don't understand, pause. Ask. Learn. Because behind every identity, every condition, every story, is a real person who has probably spent a lifetime trying to be understood. Let's not add to their struggle. Let's choose words that uplift, not wound. Let's build communities grounded in empathy and inclusion. Understanding isn't just a kind gesture. It's a responsibility. And when we embrace it, we create a world that welcomes instead of excludes, a world that heals instead of harms. And maybe, just maybe, we'll become the reason someone feels less alone. Title: Moving Forward, Resources and Support for Every Identity. In today's ever-evolving world, embracing our true selves and standing beside others as they do the same is not just an act of compassion, it's a commitment to humanity. Moving forward isn't just a phrase, it's a mindset. For those exploring their identities, whether navigating the complexities of gender, sexuality, neurodiversity, or any other deeply personal journey, support is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. And for allies, the journey doesn't end at awareness. It begins with action, empathy, and education. For those on a path of self-discovery, remember, you are not alone. Begin by listening to yourself. Your feelings are valid, even if they don't yet have labels. Journaling, connecting with safe online spaces, or speaking with a trusted confidant can be the first gentle steps towards self-understanding. It's also empowering to explore resources that reflect your questions and experiences. The Asexual Visibility and Education Network, AVEN, is a welcoming platform offering definitions, forums, personal stories, and answers for anyone exploring asexuality, whether you identify that way or are just learning about it. Similarly, platforms like them, GLAD, and the Trevor Project provide community, advocacy, and guidance tailored to different identities. Allies, your role matters deeply. It begins with listening more than speaking, and with educating yourself without expecting others to teach you. Language matters, using correct pronouns, not assuming labels, and avoiding offensive jokes or stereotypes can make a world of difference. Create safe spaces where people can show up as themselves without fear. Share diverse voices on your social media, support queer creators, and amplify marginalized stories. Even small acts like correcting someone's misgendering in a respectful way, or asking "How can I support you?" can change lives. Remember, allyship is not a title. It's a practice. Community support is one of the most powerful tools we have. Online platforms like Reddit's or /LGBTQ chat space or Scarletine offer anonymous, age-appropriate discussions for those who need someone to listen. For in-person support, many cities offer LGBTQ+ centers with counseling, workshops, and social events. Even a local book club or community group can become a sanctuary. The key is to reach out. Someone out there is waiting to walk beside you. This journey is ongoing. The world is still unlearning centuries of exclusion and silence, but every step toward understanding, no matter how small, adds to a louder, stronger, more compassionate movement. You are worthy of support. You are worthy of joy. And you are seen. Let's continue to spread awareness and build a truly inclusive world where everyone, regardless of identity, has the freedom to live, love, and grow without shame. Because moving forward means leaving no one behind. As we reach the end of this journey into the often misunderstood worlds of asexuality and aromanticism, let's pause for a moment, not to conclude, but to reflect. These identities aren't just labels, they are lived experiences, valid, real, and deeply personal. We've unraveled myths that too often silence or confuse: the myth that asexual people are just shy, that aromantic people haven't met the right one, or that either identity is something to be fixed. These misconceptions don't just miss the mark, they hurt. They erase the richness of human diversity and contribute to a world where people are made to feel broken for simply being who they are. But the truth is, there is nothing broken here. Asexuality isn't about a lack, it's about a different relationship with desire. Aromanticism isn't about emptiness, it's about understanding love and connection in a unique and valid way. When we open our minds to these truths, we begin to create space where everyone belongs. To those who saw themselves in this video, your identity is not invisible, even if the world sometimes tries to make it so. You are not alone. You are enough exactly as you are. And to those still learning, thank you for listening, for unlearning, for caring. Awareness is the first step toward empathy, and empathy is how we change the world, one understanding at a time. Let's carry this understanding with us, not just today, but every day. Share what you've learned. Listen when someone shares their truth. And if you're someone exploring these parts of yourself, take your time. There is no rush, no one path, and no wrong way to exist. Your journey is your own, and it's worth honoring. Before we part, remember this: inclusivity isn't a destination, it's a practice. A continuous, conscious effort to see each other more clearly, and to hold space for all the beautiful ways we exist. So, let's commit to that practice together. Thank you for walking this path with me. With open hearts, open minds, and a shared hope for a kinder, more inclusive world. If this video touched you, consider sharing it. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's keep showing up. And most importantly, let's keep creating a world where no one has to justify their identity to feel seen. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep embracing the truth that love, identity, and humanity come in more forms than we've ever been taught. And that, in itself, is something truly beautiful.